What's up, Satan? So, talking sex. I'm ready. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me?
Will premarital sex help your dating relationship?
I'd say, you know, you got to get after that early. You got to start early.
Will living together help you prepare for marriage?
You know, here's the deal. You know, you wouldn't buy a car without going out and put some miles on it. And I mean, how could you marry someone if you don't even know what it's going to be like? I mean, you've got to try that out.
What do you think about pornography?
The biggest problem with pornography in my mind is that kids today don't realize how hard it used to be to get pornography. You used to have to work to get that stuff. You actually had to go to the store. Is this decaf or?
What about adultery?
Do you really want to be locked down with one person? There's what, like 6 billion people in the world? I mean, that might be what your grandparents thought. We're in a different generation, baby. I've done lots of great things for you. Cats and the plague. So,
What about homosexuality?
If a guy wants to be with another guy, hey, props to him. More chicks for the rest of us, am I right? He knows what I'm talking about. I don't have a problem with it personally. I mean, you like diet soda, I don't, you know? You know what I'm saying?
You know, we watch that silly video and laugh at the humor found in it, but if the truth be told, Satan really has influenced our culture into believing all of those lies. And because of those lies, people have been devastated and broken. Today, we are going to start a brand new series titled Satan's Sex Ed. And you may be saying, why are we going to do this? Well, here's why. Because we want you to own this truth, that purity paves the way to intimacy. And that's it. One simple truth, that purity paves the way to intimacy. And as we dig deeper into the meaning behind this truth, we're going to see that great and godly sex is something God wants for each of us. Listen, great and godly sex starts with godly thinking. And tonight, I want you to see that our spiritual enemy, the deceiver Satan, has been trying to be the sex ed teacher for many, many generations. And the problem with this is, when we believe his lies, we have wrong thinking, and wrong thinking leads to sinful actions. So, throughout this series, we're going to uncover many of the lies that Satan has been teaching. We're going to dissect them like a frog on the cutting board. We're going to talk about things that may seem a little uncomfortable or may seem awkward or silly. But they are things that must be dealt with to help us see that Satan cannot be our sex ed teacher any longer, and that Satan can no longer be trusted to lead us to a life of intimacy. Now, you may be saying, I'm not seeking intimacy. Oh, really? Well, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, each and every one of us is seeking intimacy. That's right, each of us, you, me, your parents, we're all seeking intimacy. We're seeking someone who will show us that we're important, someone who will be there for us no matter what, someone who will make us feel good on the inside. Unfortunately, many of us, we think sex is the way to intimacy. But before we look at the lies Satan has gotten many of us to believe, I want to show you who Satan really is, and that his description of intimacy is flawed and untrue. So let's look at what Scripture has to say about who Satan really is. Now, we're going to find ourselves in the book of John, chapter 8, and it's here that we see an encounter that Jesus is having with the Jews. And in this conversation, they're pretty ticked off at him because he's proclaiming to be the Son of God. And in his proclamation, he's telling them that if they were God's children, they would accept him and love him. But instead, they choose not to believe. And because of their unbelief, Jesus tells them that God is not their father, but instead their father is Satan. Listen to the stern words found in verse 44. For you are the children of your father the devil, and you love to do the evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Did you get that last part? He is a liar and the father of lies. Students, you have to get this. Satan is a liar and cannot be trusted. So, now that I've shown you that Satan is a liar and the father of lies, let's dive in and look at 6 lies that are covertly woven into our culture. Everybody is having sex. Really? Everybody is having sex? By a show of hands, who in here is having sex? That's what I thought. No one is having sex. Well, at least no one will admit it. And the few that probably raised their hands and were giggling, just did it to get attention. Anyways, the theme that everybody is having sex is a lie. That is simply a statement that someone is saying who is currently feeling the shame or guilt of having sex. Or it may simply be a statement someone is saying to get someone else to have sex with them. It is simply a lie that is being spread by Satan. And the sad thing is that he is spreading this lie right in front of you, and you sometimes don't even realize it. Now you may be saying, how and where is Satan spreading this lie? Well, let me show you. It's found in two different places. One, the music we listen to. Did you know in 2009, a study was done and 92% of the 174 songs that made it on the top Billboard charts were dealing with sex? And now you may be thinking, well, not the music I listen to. Well, this percentage included pop, rap, R&B, and country. So it was found in almost every genre. And here's some examples. How about Lil Wayne's song Lollipop? Or Trace Atkins' I Left Something Turned On at Home? Or Get Mine, Get Yours by Christina Aguilera? Or how about this one from R&B, International Love by Pitbull? See, the music that is popular today in the student culture is screaming sex. It's everywhere you turn. Now, some of you may be saying, well, you know what, I don't listen to secular music. Okay, well, let's look at another place, the movies we watch. How about Transformers, American Pie, The Hangover, Friends with Benefits, or the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn? It's even in the TV shows like Pretty Little Liars or Secret Life of the American Teenager, and I could go on and on and on. So as you see, sex is everywhere around you. But honestly, you don't have to believe the lies you hear in the music, or on the big screen, or on the TV shows. Not everyone is having sex. Just those who don't know how to channel their desire for intimacy in a positive direction. You can't live without sex. This silly lie makes it seem like sex is equal to oxygen, that if you don't have it, you're going to suffocate and die. Well, I can assure you, you can't live without oxygen, but sex, you can live without it until marriage. I mean, no one ever died from not having sex. But did you know in the last 20 years, over 30 million people have died from AIDS alone, and millions more from other STDs. So the lie that you can't live without sex is positively not true. Sex is a natural part of a loving relationship. Now I know that none of you in this room tonight have ever heard these words before. If you love me, you would. Really? If you love me, you would? That is one of the craziest things I have ever heard. Satan is planting that lie in the heads of millions of teenagers to pressure the opposite sex into having sex. If sex was a natural part of a loving relationship, then why is it that over 50% of marriages end in divorce? They were having sex and it didn't work. And this is just one example of why sex is not a natural part of a loving relationship. Now, after hearing this truth about this lie, you may be thinking, if it's not natural, then what is? Sex is a byproduct of a spiritual connection and relationship consummated after the marriage vows. Listen, if there are any of you here tonight who are contemplating having sex, let me let you in on a little secret. Sex is a physical act. Yes, it can be a great experience, but outside the confines of marriage, it will tear you apart. If you don't believe me, ask someone who has had sex before and ask them, did it affect them emotionally? Ask a girl how she felt when the boy she was having sex with ended up sleeping with another girl or left her because she decided to stop having sex. I can bet you they'll affirm what I'm saying, that sex is not a natural part of a loving relationship. Sex is a natural part of growing up. Now this is one of the most ridiculous lies that I'm going to share with you. This lie makes it sound like sex has to happen, just like puberty or facial hair or bad BO. If it were a natural part of growing up, then why is it that when teens have sex outside of marriage, they end up dealing with an emotional aspect they never thought was possible? The feeling of shame or guilt or embarrassment, the psychological issues and emotional breakdown once the sex is over. I mean, see, our culture has been telling you that it is a rite of passage, that you are supposed to have sex. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car without test driving it, right? True. But when it comes to sex, a test drive will result in a crash, believe me. Students, sex is not a natural part of growing up. Instead, sex is a natural part of a spiritual connection that happens inside the confines of marriage. Sex outside of marriage would cease to be a problem if teens would just wear condoms. Okay, this is an interesting statement. I mean, this widely held myth is the clearest indication that our society has separated sex from intimacy and relationship. Think about it this way. Everybody is warning you about the physical consequences of unprotected sex, right? It's like the only message you receive relating to sex outside of marriage is the potential diseases or pregnancies that might happen, right? But you know what? If we stamped out all the unwanted pregnancies and STDs, that is not going to rid us of all the problems, because there are emotional and relational consequences. I mean, honestly, has anyone ever shared with you how that will affect your life? I mean, think about it this way. A condom can't erase a memory, remove guilt, restore your reputation, or repair your self-esteem. It simply can't protect you like that. And that is why the condom issue, it's a lie. Sex makes life better. This is the biggest lie of them all. If sex makes life better, then why is it that life gets more complicated when your boyfriend or your girlfriend breaks up with you after you've been having sex for some time and you feel horrible? Why is it that when word gets out that you've been having sex, people make fun of you or call you dirty names? Why is it that you feel shameful or depressed when your parents find out? I mean, if sex makes life better, then our definition of better is flawed. Students, listen. Satan has been trying to get you to believe these lies we just talked about. And for some of you, you've believed these lies by default, meaning you didn't know any better. Listen, you must understand that Satan is using every weapon in his arsenal. He is trying to teach you all the tricks of the trade, but you can't give in to what he is saying. I mean, people have been dealing with this liar since the time of Adam and Eve. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with that story, how the serpent, Satan, deceived Adam and Eve into eating the forbidden fruit so they could be like God. I mean, his deception was based on a lie, and we've all been paying the consequences of that lie. So much so that Jesus warned us in John 8:44 that Satan is the father of lies and that there is no truth in him. Listen, we have to get to the point where we understand that for us to experience the true intimacy we are after, we are going to have to remain pure. We can no longer listen to what our culture is saying about sex. We can't let Satan be our sex ed teacher any longer. You want a genuine sex ed teacher? Look at God for the truth. Look at Him as the one who knows and knows what He's talking about. I mean, He created sex, so I think He knows what He's talking about. I mean, Jesus totally understood this whole idea of truth. Listen to what He says in John chapter 8, verse 32. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Basically, what Jesus is saying is that we are truly His when we know the truth, and if we live out that truth in our lives. Students, listen to me on this. You want to experience true intimacy? You want to experience a guilt-free, shame-free life? Dismiss the lies being told about sex and believe that purity paves the way to intimacy.